Welcome back to Your Money Matters with Ripon Ray. If you have been listening earlier on, we talked about renting and your obligations as a renter. What could happen when things go wrong and your responsibilities when it comes to when an individual that you're living with no longer lives with you. So if you're jointly liable, we've also talked about guarantor and ways to deal with budgets. And I know it's a tough one, but hey, that's life, and the reality of life means taking responsibilities. But of course, sometimes you may find that you're not always responsible for what happens to you, especially when you're talking about you losing your job. It's a big thing when you lose your job. When you lose your job, you know, income no doubt will thrash in a sense that it will reduce a lot. Your mental state will no doubt be very negative, because when you lose your job, you're not just simply losing money, you're also losing on so many things that you get. Freedom to choose things, freedom to travel to places, freedom to buy food that you want, because your job provided you money that shapes what you do. But for some people, I must say, it's the only forms of way they can socialize with other people. If you're elderly, you'll know what I mean. Because when you get old and you're working, it's probably the only way you talk to other people. And those people are your fellow colleagues. So, yes, work plays a huge part. But let's not kid ourselves. Sometimes you do find that you end up losing your job, and naturally, this has a negative impact on you. Now, when you find yourself in such a situation, what can you do? And of course, anxiety is a big one. Uncertainty is another one. Depression. And to be honest, I remember when I was working for a huge media company, a multinational media company, and when I lost my job, it was devastating. Now, it may be devastating for you, or maybe not. 0207 791 5170, because I know losing a job, it's a huge thing for some people. But the way I'm looking at it, yes, what has happened has happened. But in order for you to move on, what can you do? Most importantly, what money can you get? And my job is really here on Your Money Matters with Better Bangla, is to show you what money you can get, especially when you've lost your job and you may be looking for another job. So in terms of that, really, I want to talk about what benefits you can claim if you lost your job, and that's one thing. I'll also talk about redundancy pay that you might be entitled to, tax credits, benefit to also to help with your housing cost, because naturally when you're working, I suspect, full time, you are getting your rent paid from your salary, and that might not be the case. And also other small things. It may sound small for now, but once you lose your job, it may be big, but those small things can also help you. So let me focus on some of those things. Yes, you have lost a job. It is tough. It is horrible, but you need to pull yourself up and start thinking about what can be done. Yes, and I'm going to be blunt about this thing, and you may have to think about applying for job seekers allowance. Or, depending upon where you live, in certain areas, you can't apply for job seekers allowance, you have to apply for universal credit. But of course, if you're sick, things might be different. I've come across so many people in my work setting where actually, although they've lost a job, but the state they are in makes them not fit for getting a job or looking for a job. So instead, they might apply for sickness benefit. There are two of them I can think of. One is, again, depending where you are, if you're a new claim, and universal credit may incorporate it, but it might not. But there are a couple of things. If you've lost your job, you might be able to get job seekers allowance based on your contribution. That's because you've contributed towards your national insurance. Now, we have a welfare state in Britain, and when you work, you're actually paying a number of things out of your salary. You're paying income tax, that pays for major things that you get in Britain. It also pays for your national insurance. Your national insurance is 2% of your salary, subject to a minimum threshold. Income tax, depending upon your income, is about 20% of your salary. So those things go. So national insurance pays for your contribution-based job seekers allowance, contribution-based employment support allowance. But those benefits are different from universal credit. Universal credit is primarily income-based. Once you move to income-based, you will only get universal credit, not contribution-based job seekers allowance, not contribution-based employment support allowance. You can get part of universal credit to make up the fact that your contribution-based job seekers allowance or employment support allowance may not cover the full amount you need. So then you apply for universal credit to recover your housing cost, for example. So it does depend. However, if you don't have your let's say contribution-based job seekers allowance and contribution-based employment support allowance, then we are looking at universal credit. Then the question is, what is it? Yes, universal credit. As you know, it seems like a draconian phrase, universal credit. If you've been watching the news, news has been plastering universal credit with shame, and it is what it is, partly because we are hearing horror stories. In fact, data shows that 83% of Tower Hamlets residents who are local authority tenants and on universal credit are in rent arrears since April 2017. So naturally, a figure like that, to me anyway, I'm not sure what it's like to you, it shivers, it scares the hell out of me, naturally. So fear is a big thing on universal credit, as well as getting into arrears. And we talked about rent before, and looks like universal credit and rent, they go hand in hand. And my figures that I gave you earlier on reflects just that. But what is, on a in terms of looking at what it is, what is in universal credit? Yes, so universal credit is basically a single monthly payment. It includes your basic payment plus other elements. So if you remember, I talked about job seekers allowance, employment support allowance. Those things will be covered as your basic payment. And then we'll talk about other elements like housing. And if you have children, of course, we're talking about child tax credit, child element as well. It may also include childcare, caring. All those things that you have to apply for, but you do need to apply online. So in terms of what you get, it does, as I said before, boil down to your national contribution. Yep. And as I said, if you've contributed enough, you might be able to get job seekers allowance based on contribution up to 6 months. That's when really Job Centre doesn't try to be too pushy. But of course, after that, they will say, look for job ASAP. And I suspect, I haven't had that experience for some time. If you have, please do share with us. 0207 791 5170. So yes, if you live in a universal credit area, you have to apply for universal credit. And you might be able to claim job seekers allowance or other support, or in fact, you might even be able to include your mortgage cost. Now, mortgage cost, if you are not sure, And if you have not had the opportunity to apply, I might as well say it's basically a loan. So yeah, a loan that you get that will be paid towards your interest. Towards your interest. So of course, the mortgage that you have, if you're not a renter, if you're a mortgage holder, i.e., you owe money to a bank or financial institution. On return, you get a mortgage where you're living in. And of course, when you lose your job, you may find that you have problems with paying your mortgage cost. So you can then apply to Department of Work and Pension for your mortgage cost. Now, from April 2018, mortgage cost is no longer a grant. So you don't get it. DWP doesn't pay you. Now you have to get a loan. Yes, a loan, another loan. So from a mortgage loan to another loan. And that is what you pay when in the future you're thinking of selling your property. They won't take your money, but that's what it is, basically. And if you remember, if you are on job seekers allowance, you get paid every 2 weeks with universal credit. You will get paid every month. Yes, every month. So the question then boils down to, although you've lost your job, on what capacity did you lose your job? Yeah, so in terms of you losing a job, did you lose your job because you were sacked? Now, that will raise an issue, obviously. If you're sacked, I suspect you were sacked because because of your misconduct, or you left without a good reason, and therefore there might be a delay before you can start getting job seekers allowance or universal credit. And the other thing is, sad thing to say, Job Centre Plus are well known, if you're aware, not just simply for universal credit, but also for sanctioning. So they might apply sanctioning, in other words, stop paying you for a certain number of weeks. And it's primarily up to the work coach to tell you how long to sanction you. Now, if that is the case, clearly you need to think about your right of appeal. And if that is the case, you have the right of appeal first through mandatory reconsideration. And if you're not successful, and usually most people are not successful, you may want to take your case to the first-tier tribunal against sanctioning you, basically. You have to think about your reasons why they ought not to have sanctioned you and backdate you the money that you have lost. So, yeah. So now let's move on to ways for you to claim job seekers allowance or universal credit. Yeah. So, yeah, we moved away from you being sacked. We moved away from what you can get, job seekers allowance, mortgage costs, and other things. Now it's all about actually the job of doing it. And believe me, it's not going to be amazing. It's not going to be snazzy. It's not going to be glamorous. It's basically going to be you actually sitting down. Will take you roughly 40 minutes and doing it online. Now, in exceptional circumstance, you can actually not do it online, but that's partly because of your vulnerability. If you can't read, you might want someone else to help you. But what do you need to give? You need to first find a computer. Yep, friend's computer, library, idea stores or any other stores that you can think of where you can get free access to a computer, and make sure that computer is linked with online, so you have access to the internet. You need those things. The other thing you need, yes, is information, and this is what you'll be providing. So you need to give your postcode, details of your education, your employer, national insurance number, details of people living with you, any income, savings, rent, mortgage, any other benefits that you're getting, details of your bank, building society, credit union account that you hold, and of course, we then look at the next step. Yeah, next step. So next step is for you to go for an interview at the job center or jobs and benefit office. It all depends where you live, really. So they may reword it in a different kind of way, but in the end, is where you go and sign on, basically. So an advisor will talk you through basically the process and look at ways for you to improve your chance of getting another job. Simple as that. And then you will sign, and you probably may have come across it, a claimant commitment. This will set out steps that you must take to get a job. Let's say, such as a number of hours that you'll be looking for a job. And also, it will also depend on things like your health, your responsibilities at home, how much help you need to find out work. And obviously, those things will be looked at by the advisor. And also, they frame a claimant commitment around you to make sure you get a job that fits your need. And of course, you have to go there every 2 weeks to confirm that you are still claiming benefits, and that you call sign on. So also, of course, we talked about sanctioning. If you don't sign on and if you don't have a good reason, you know what's going to happen. But let's just briefly move to statutory redundancy. Now, what is statutory redundancy? Now, if you've been made redundant, that means lost your job, you are normally entitled to statutory redundancy pay. But that's only if you're an employee. So in other words, you work for the organization and you're an employee and have been working for your employer for the last 2 years. So in order for you to get statutory redundancy pay, by the way, and it's called statutory, it's because there's legislation which states that you should be receiving a redundancy pay because the law says. But to qualify for this, you have to have been working there for 2 years. Now, there are other benefits are available, tax credits, for example. And we talked about help with rent, housing benefit, or that you might be entitled to. And that's partly you will apply along with your job seekers allowance and universal credit. Housing element is included, and if not, you better flag it up. Otherwise, you might find that you're in difficulties. And the other thing is, if you are struggling to manage money, you can ask your landlord, if it's local authority landlord or housing association, to get the housing element of universal credit directly to the landlord. And we talked about, obviously, mortgage interest payment. Yeah, it is a loan. And yeah, so there are other things that you may want to think about. I know, folks, there's a lot to take in, but it's my job to feed you with information. And information is always a good one, so long you learn from it and avoid getting into money trouble. And we are nearly coming to an end, and I can see that. But before I do that, I do want to finish off with another tip, and hopefully that's a good one. And then it's coming to an end. Right, okay, let's change the mood a bit. Enough of depressing things, enough of talking about always about losing your job or, renting problems, and I'm trying to give you information that makes you too responsible. Forget it. Now I'm going to talk about saving tips when you're bringing someone from London. No, someone to London. I've had enough of this. Now let's think about it. You have a friend. You have brought your friend to London. You want to show your friend of London. How can your friend save money? So that's obviously is important, isn't it? So that's a good one. You want to show off London to your friend. Now the question is, how the hell are you going to do that? So it's really about positive tips that you can do to make sure your friend has a fantastic time in London. Plus, also, you get to save money. That's a good one. We like that. I mean, don't forget, I really wanted to save money. So yeah, so no more boring touch. It's all about tips for you bringing your friend to London. First thing you must do, let's be frank, if you haven't heard of Oyster Card, now's your chance. Get hold of Oyster Card. Make sure your friend knows about Oyster Card. Oyster Card will literally save your friend up to 50% of his her journey instead of just buying a single ticket. My God, you won't believe it. In London these days, without an Oyster Card, with me, my jaw drops. I get tears in my eyes if I see a tourist without an Oyster Card. So yes, get an Oyster Card. Come on. Yeah, the other one, they don't be coming to them. Oh my God, I've been told by my assistant to hurry up. My assistant and looking at me and saying, can you hurry up, please? Yeah, there we go. Is free attractions. And there are a number of free things you can see. Come on, show off London to your friend. Where is Big Ben? That one that sits in, where is it? Where does it sit? It sits somewhere near, I suppose, Waterloo. Don't forget, you have free attraction, the Big Ben, the icon of London. Take them there. Also, don't forget, Tate Modern, National Gallery. It's all free. You don't. If you want to leave donations, fine, but it's free. Now, the other thing is, don't even bother going to restaurants. Yes, no restaurant, please. Street food in London is fantastic. South Bank of the Thames, Camden Market. Go there. Take them. It's cheaper. And the other thing is, I know we talked about Oyster, but there are other ways. Some parts of London, you can actually walk from A to B. So yeah, try something like, let's say, if you're in Covent Garden, go to Leicester Square. It is about 5 minutes walk instead of you taking your Oyster Card or using money to take a bus and pay. So yes, so you can save money. Don't forget, get walking. And it's healthy too, don't forget. Street food instead of restaurant. Yes, please. We don't want restaurant. Especially you want to show off your friends of London. And there are free attraction in London. And of course, don't forget when it's an attraction, we love our Big Ben. We like our London Eye. We like East End, Brick Lane, Bangla's community. Come on, Bangla Town. It's fantastic. It's all free. See the street arts and say, look, I've been to London and East End to see all the things that London offers. So yes, free stuff is always great. And of course, don't pay single, but instead get hold of an Oyster Card. So there we are. We've got all the fun bits out of the way. But listeners, yes, hope you've listened. Hope you've learned. Hope you are going to be all confident about your rights and responsibilities. And on that note, I just want to say, thank you for listening to Your Money Matters with Ripon Ray. Next week, we'll be talking about new different topics with new different themes. And you can easily phone in 0207 791 5170.